Collage paper 19 is inspiration fodder. You will need collage papers and perhaps scissors. A circle punch is great, and your hands. It can be intimidating to sit down in front of a blank page or canvas, and a big pile of collage papers can be intimidating. It can be hard to know where to start and get past not wanting to destruct papers you love and loved making. A way to deal with this is to start a small box or folder of inspiration. I suggest two types: backgrounds and pieces. I'm looking at these two pieces as backgrounds. I mentioned in my stripes video that I like to put stripes or a semic writing or something like this would be great on a canvas or page before I start a tissue paper collage. This piece looks like a good starting place for me for more traditional collage. Many mixed media artists start by covering their blank page with mark making, or some could see it as scribbles, but getting something down that doesn't necessarily bear any relation to the finished project. With tissue paper, more of that will show through. And with more traditional collage, well, I guess it's all in how you build it. But what's to be done with all those gorgeous pieces of collage paper? And not so gorgeous. One of the beauties of collage paper making is that you can't really mess it up. I mean, the purpose of it is to be put in collages, not be left whole. But getting past that still whole part can be difficult. One of your best friends can be a hole punch, because circles are cool. And a hole punch is simple and gets you past that pristine page with, come on. How cool would this be in a collage? If you like clean lines, scissors can also be your friends. You can find places that aren't ideal and use them as starting points to cut pieces and shapes out of your collage paper. Thin strips are always useful, and if you haven't been doing collage for a while, or if you've cleaned out your stash, you may need more of those. Ooh, I think this would make a fun, funky circle. Let's see. I don't want too much of the white, but I do want to get the grunge. I did get the grunge, but I also got some white, which I decided to cut off. And this makes me think of a sunset. I see a sunset in this. I want to create an abstract landscape evocative of a sunset. I do typically not prefer straight, flat, smooth edges. And another great way to deal with whole pieces of collage paper that have you overwhelmed is to, tear them up. Have fun with it. If it helps you deal with pent-up aggression, I won't judge. What might something like this inspire in a collage later? And also, when you're working on a collage and it's just missing some little something, check your inspiration fodder. Where you want that white paper heart edge, tear toward yourself. And to recap, inspiration fodder. Get a small box or a folder, have some pieces you'd like to use as backgrounds, and pieces that are pieces. Sticking with the inspiration fodder theme, collage paper number 20 is easy image transfers. You will need some magazine images or text. If you like text, old book pages, old dictionary pages, things like that are great, but only things you are willing to destroy. You will need scissors. These are my favorite. Packing tape and a shallow container of warm water. The first thing you will need to do is choose an image or text. To be honest, I'm not sure how this one will work because it's from a magazine cover, so it's that thicker, glossier paper. I've only done a few of these in the past, so I guess we will find out how it goes. Choose the area you would like to transfer and place your tape on it. Make sure it is well adhered, no bubbles, nice and smooth. This is a sturdier tape than I used before. I guess you could use a brayer or an old credit card style plastic card. I just used my fingers. Then I trimmed it to the edges and place it face down in your water and let it sit for a bit while the water is soaking through the paper. As I mentioned, it's a thicker paper, so it might not work as well or quickly. I will choose my next image. I thought this would be a fun design. This time I'll just tear it out. Lay down my tape carefully. Rub it down really well. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, the glossy paper is harder for the water to soak through, but it is now peeling off nicely. These transfers will turn out at least slightly translucent. The areas with the least ink will be more translucent, and black areas will be the darkest. I seem to have had a little bubble there, so a little bare spot. A little bit more paper off. So one benefit of this type of image transfer is you don't have to worry about the direction of your text. It will show up exactly as the page because you are taking that surface off. You're removing the image from the page basically onto the back of your tape. You will need a paper towel, or in this case, I have a shop towel to lay your pieces on to dry or dry them off. I'm just going to set it down and keep on with my next piece. Trimming this one, I have to be honest, I can't really see the edges of my tape, but we will put this one down in the water. So with this, we're not waiting for anything to adhere. We are just dissolving the paper. And it doesn't take very long, really, but I'm going to look for another image while this one sits. I chose this one for the bouquet and the cute little table. I like the design on this one. Another bouquet. Fun table arrangement. Another funky pattern. I think for my next one, I will use the little bouquet and table. Let's check on this one. It's peeling off easily. As I said, it doesn't take very long. As mentioned in the short for this project, this has to be the easiest type of image transfer. It's relatively neat too if you are neater with water than I am, but I think this also came out pretty cool. And next, my little table. Same process. Tape on image. Face down in water. Wait a few minutes, during which you can prep another image if you'd like. Then quick and easy, peel off that paper and you have another great image transfer. And to give you an idea of the translucence, here it is against another page. And my fun little bowl of blue eggs. The tape I'm using this time seems to work better than what I have tried in the past, so I'll put a link in the description. You can cut off the jagged, what do you call those little teeth to cut the tape off on? Marks on your edges. I will say that I don't typically use these in collage because I don't like random shiny places, but these do look really cool. I wonder what would happen if I used them in collage and put matte medium over them. Future experiment. Collage paper 21 is some more inspiration fodder. About as simple as you can get. Last year during the the 52-week art journal journey, we did some collaging, and these were words that I kept as inspiration. Images are also a good idea. I actually made this envelope for them out of a cover that had one of the yeah, one of those fold out covers. I made an envelope. So another simple, easy idea to get you some inspiration when you need it, or to add to a piece when you're missing something. And here is something inspired by one of those inspiration pieces, since there wasn't a whole lot to watch in that section. 5x7 gel plate, Payne's Gray, putting it on gently and lightly because I just want to have the image transfer on this side. And the plan was lots of colors and texture on the other. I wanted to find other interesting magazine images with texture, but I didn't have time. I still planned to use color and probably some white, sort of cloudy, ethereal look, and I did get her too close to the edge. And you may be able to see there's something interesting going on along the edge. It's not a clean pull. I used some gloss medium and silver for sheen. If you caught the short video of this, you may realize an error I made in assessing it that first night. I thought I got too much pink paint. I wasn't really processing through the way things were behaving. I didn't have a lot of time, but I was enjoying the art making. But the problem I'm having here is I got too much gloss medium, which meant lots of extra squishiness. A different look for the end product. I had planned for this to be so much more impressive, but let's check it out. Yeah, as I realized, I got her too close to the edge, and that caused some problem with the paint. So, instead of being a lovely ballerina, ballet dancer, she looks like she's being swallowed by the void. So, there you go. Image transfer hits and misses. It, of course, grew on me, and that is some really fun texture over there. But, yeah, her poor face. Collage paper number 22 is more inspiration fodder. This time, sketchy flowers that are like sticky list stickers that can be used as focal points or other embellishment. I decided to do one of my favorite drawing styles, single or continuous line drawing. Draw flowers or whatever you would like in your style on cardstock with waterproof pen. I had intended to add color to most, if not all of these, but I really like the black and white look. I think it would look great in a collage, and there is also the option of coloring it to match the color palette of the collage you're working on. Watercolor would be ideal for this as far as the look. Just remember that you will want to use a workable fixative if you plan to go over it with any artwork or glue underneath and above. I did decide to color one of my flowers because I wanted to play with my acrylic ink. This is Liquitex Deep Violet and Phthalo Blue Red shade. When everything is as you would like it, cut it out and voila, that's it. More fodder to inspire you when you're stuck, or would like a visual prompt, or just need something. I wanted to do something more abstract and play with the inks again, so collage paper number 23 is more inspiration fodder, abstract inky flowers. I started with laying down some clean water in interesting organic shapes, and then use Liquitex Professional acrylic ink in Deep Violet. I do enjoy watching the ink move through the water. After everything is dry, allow the shapes to define their petals. I used my new sepia pens. When they all look the way you want, cut them out. And there it is. Another fun, interesting bit of inspiration fodder. Breaking off from the inspiration fodder, I am doing a shiny experiment inspired by a reel I saw on Instagram or a short I saw on YouTube. I really can't remember, but the person was trying to recreate momigami paper. And I was thinking it would be fun to try to make some textured metallic paper. I'm just using brown paper from a package I received. I am taping it down so I can work with it more neatly and things won't be curling up and I won't be painting off on my table. I didn't try this on my MDF boards because, yes, I was afraid of curling and rolling and the wrinkles wrinkling up. The first sheet is wrinklier to start. I had decided I was going to try my metallic acrylic ink, and I love copper, so that's what I decided to go with. But I was also afraid that the paper would absorb too much of the ink, so I decided to put down a base layer. And I figured instead of using something like gesso, I would use a layer of copper paint. I started brushing it on, but the brush strokes were way too visible. As you can see, I wasn't really sure how much paint to put on the paper at first, and I did have some issues with dry areas. There were also areas where the wrinkles looked like they might tear, but I kept going, figuring that if I'm making a textured paper, it wouldn't really matter anyway. And as I've said before, it's difficult to mess up collage paper because it's being made for collage. So there's a good chance it will be torn up later anyway. Although I often prefer to stand while I work, I had decided when seeing a video taken over by my arms to make sure I was always seated, but you can probably tell from this that I forgot to sit down. And yes, I did have a bit of a struggle thoroughly covering the sheet with the copper. But also, as I had decided it looked like it would be shiny enough without the ink, I wanted to fill it in as much as possible. As mentioned, I didn't like all the brush strokes, so did switch over to a brayer. And I think it's looking pretty interesting, liking how it was turning out without the sparkly ink. Again, I wasn't sure how much to use, so I started with a couple of lines I could brayer together. And even with the thin layer that the brayer lays down, I was getting better coverage than I expected. And there wasn't the absorption I was so concerned about. I was working in just natural light from one of the windows in my studio in progress, so you can't see as well how shiny the second paper is. Different light for the reveal after they were dry. As you can see with the light, the ink has a different texture. I can't remember what word I used for it a few minutes ago. It might have been sparkly. I think in the first video I used it in, I described it as chunky. I didn't realize the metallic would be chunky, which isn't quite the right word either, but it does definitely have flecks in it. I think they both look great dry, but yes, a slightly different effect on each. I did crumple up the first page to examine creating more texture. And I don't know that it improved it, but it is a different look. So I decided to keep the other only as wrinkled as it was. And I think I would like to next time fold it in such a way that I have those long wrinkles and work with what's already in the paper more than add it later. So there you go, metallics. Collage paper number 25 is another metallics experiment. I have one of my MDF boards at an angle, which turned out to be not quite enough of an angle. And yes, the ink is thicker than ideal for the look I'm going for. And water thins it out to the point I'm not getting the rivulets and droplets the size I would like. Wetter paper makes it spread more than run. I hung these to dry on a folding drying rack. I have a couple of old wooden ones. I will put a link in the description to a newer version they carry on Amazon. But I wasn't really impressed with any of them when I put them to dry and didn't think they were going to work at all. Long story short, when trying the regular tissue paper and the wet strength tissue paper, The more water there was, the worse the wet strength performed, and the regular tissue paper, for the most part, dried shinier, and way shinier than I expected for how they looked when I finished. I will definitely be revisiting this to try to achieve the look I was going for so I can use it like my asemic writing and stripes from my tissue paper videos.